I know. The thumbnail caught your eye. You dove into this video and you want to know, what are you talking about? Stop buying. We have a new set coming up, Commander Masters. That means reprints. That means a waste of our money if we buy any cards right now. It's more important to take a look at the financial impact of which cards could be reprinted. When you want to guarantee victory, you stack the deck, and that has Commander players jumping. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. Welcome back, everyone. Can't wait to see the comments on this video, because when you think of a reprint set, when you think of a Time Spiral Remastered, things like that are getting a reprint, it's not nearly as exciting as a product like this, which is Commander Masters. Definitely not the best name. It still keeps making me think of He-Man and Masters of the Universe. Every time I hear it, I don't know what it is, it makes me think that way. But think about this set for a second. Take a calm moment. I told you in the thumbnail, stop buying. Don't buy anything. Don't clear the shopping cart. Don't buy on TCG Player right now. You're not using my affiliate link. Stop it. Just stop for a second. Because let's face it, in a matter of months, the spoilers will start to come out. Things will start to appear, letting us know how stacked we're going to see for Commander Masters. When you see CM come out, and they got the spoilers going, and we see how stacked this thing is, that will tell us the financial implications of cards already on the market. How much of a downturn they're going to take, because they're going to do different versions, different variations. We've got set boxes, we got draft boxes, we got collector boxes. I mean, they've really filled this stuff out, plus some pretty stacked up Commander decks, which will have pre-built things like the Eldrazi as well as the Slivers. So some of the values, actually a lot of values, of these cards are going to tank. They're going to make them more affordable for the larger player audience of Commander, to get more players into the format, to invite them to join the Commander sphere. So if we know cards are going to tank, then this is not the time to buy. That's right, it's the time to sell. You've got to start looking at the highs and lows of these cards and seeing what path they're going to take and which cards are more likely to get a reprint, because some cards have not been reprinted in a long time. Others definitely needed a reprint because they got to keep the kind of value in check. I mean, we only had 20 months ago and Jeweled Lotus came out, and now here it is 24 months later and it's popping back onto the battlefield. Yeah. So some of these cards needed it more than others, but some players will be dying for some of these cards to just lose a little bit of value, making them more affordable. Now, there's nothing they can do about reserve list cards that are Commander staples, but as the game continues to evolve, and if Wizards of the Coast takes a personal hand in things, you might see reserve list cards eventually get squeezed out of Commander. That's my little tinfoil hat bit for you. But let's go ahead. Let's talk about this, and let's look at some of the cards that are likely to get a reprint and some of the financial implications of what those cards will do. Now, the first card I'm sharing with everyone is a known spoiler. Just like I showed the Jeweled Lotus the other day, which again is in this set, the Dragon has that all-time high of $97.79 March of 2022. The all-time low is $3.23 March of 2018, and the current price, which is what Wizards of the Coast cares about, is $82.25. They love the fact that this card has a high value right now that they can tap into. They can draw value from this card during this reprint set, even if it falls to 50% of its value. That makes it a very affordable card for new players coming in. But for anyone who's holding this card, for any speculators who have multiple copies, this is a horror show. And they've probably already tried to ditch copies off to their LGS who realize that this is a spoiler card, and they're not taking these cards in. If they are, they're taking it at a much lower volume because they know this set is coming around. LGSs aren't dumb, guys. They know what's going on. But what about cards that could be reprinted? What about cards that are not announced yet, but may be coming into the overall pool of cards being available for reprint? That's where a lot of players can pay attention and get ahead of it before it gets bad. And let me share with you our next card today, and that is going to be Demonic Tutor. This one, guys, is primed for a reprint, okay? It has an all-time high of $66.39. You know, at one point, Demonic Tutor was on the reserve list. And this price, by the way, is back in April of 2021. The all-time low, $23.48, November of 2019. And the current price is $39.99. This card has been reprinted multiple times now. The original is, of course, my favorite. And when you look at this card and look at that value that is held within a card like this, do you honestly believe that Wizards of the Coast is not going to tap into that equity? Of course they are. They don't care about the secondary market. They're glad that the cards have value. But you as the player are the ones who are buying it, and they want to tap into the player base that doesn't have this card yet and may be willing to pay a higher premium to get it. Well, you, the player who is already holding this card, will be losing equity value because of the reprint. Now that makes it very interesting for players out there, which is why you can't really go diving in and buying any Commander cards right now because we don't know which ones are getting a reprint. This is one of those sets where I definitely say hold off and wait for spoilers to come out. But if you really think one of your cards is getting reprinted, this may be the time to sell while you can. Our next card is Cyclonic Rift. Now, I remember using this card a long time ago, and it's still an amazing card nowadays. It has an all-time high of $40.10 back in October of 2022. The all-time low is $1.79 back in April of 2017. And of course, the current price right now is $38.92 for a card like this. Remember, cards like this will continue to have value going forward. Wizards is happy that they have that value, and they're going to cash in. Now, our next card, Land Tax. Now, I'm showing you guys the Battle Bond copy, but a card like this, again, is in that same boat where you sit there and go, where are we going with a card like this? It has an all-time high of $49.17 February of 2023. That's now, guys. We've got an all-time low of $16.67 June 2018. And the current price is $43 US. Now, guys, with a card like Land Tax and a card that we've seen, when you look at these cards, understand any reprint like this, the first declining values, the time to rebuy a card like this is going to happen very quickly after the set's released. Usually I say wait 90 days, but when a reprint set comes out, it seems to really decline the prices of the secondary market, especially for a version that may not have as attractive artwork, but the functionality of it's the same. This is stuff you have to pay attention to because you can save a lot of money buying a copy that most people don't find as desirable, but it's the exact same card. Keep an eye if you're trying to save a few bucks. Now, the next card that could get reprinted, Smothering Tithe. Guys, this is one of those cards that I'm glad I own a copy. I'm glad I got it. But I'm curious to see where it goes because it has an all-time high of $51.78, and that was in April of 2022. Its all-time low, though, was $1.99. That's back in January 2019 before people knew how amazing this card is. And the current price is $25.95. Now, when you're looking at cards like the Smothering, you have to understand Wizards wants this one to probably hold, they want it to hold a certain level of value. They want cards like this to stick around. They want the players to desire it. They want to make it functionally appropriate for different types of Commander decks going forward. But they don't want to have it overpriced that they have to make it a mythic. So they're going to keep it at rare, but it'll be a harder rare to draw upon. They don't want the value to drop that low. So on the track printing, we know there'll be dud mythics and dud rares. This one will be a little harder to get, but I still think they're going to reprint cards like this. These are cards that players will be looking for. So any of the cards on this list, yeah, I could be wrong and they're not going to get reprinted. But with the sheer volume of selection Wizards of the Coast has available, there's no guarantee these cards are getting reprinted, but it's something that you really need to keep an eye on because they could come around. Now, there are lower-end cards. Look at Narset here. Narset is not a highly valuable card. Very great functionally. I mean, War of the Spark, this thing devastated. With the all-time high at only $4.25 June 2019, the all-time low is 78 cents in April 2019. The current price is only $1.53. Now, most people will think that Narset is not a great card, not really, hey, not going to be a very valuable card, but that doesn't mean that players don't want to get their hands on it, right? War of the Spark's been out of print for years now. With cards like this not getting reprinted, the value will start to rise. It's an uncommon Planeswalker, and if you are one of those decks that doesn't depend on drawing, and you're using blue, you'd love to have a card like this kind of limiting what your opponents can do. which can be devastating in a Commander game. We all know it. So a card like this will have value. Players will be glad to get it inside of a pack, and it'll find a home inside of a lot of Commander decks. When Wizards is looking at reprint equity, when they do this set, at least what I would do, I'd be looking at a whole tier of cards, picking out ones that are high priced, good value, mixing in all kinds of dud cards that they're just throwing in there as fodder, because they're going to do that too, right? Not every pack is going to be a hit, but they want there to be a slight edge to it. They want that gamble to be there. And that's where we start getting to some of our other cards here. So we go ahead. This is a card I'm hoping for a reprint, and that is when we're talking about Mana Crypt. It's been out for a few years, guys. It hasn't had a reprint, and this is a card we need to see come around again. The all-time high is $200.53 February 2023. Look at where this thing's gone. The all-time low, $85.89 July 2020. And that's when the last reprint came out. Now, the current price is $199. So, it's the same thing, guys. When you look at this card and look at the price, this is just primed for a reprint. Will Wizards of the Coast put it with this, knowing that Jeweled Lotus is there? It is possible. They could make them both very difficult cards to draw like they normally would, but adding both of those in will get the FOMO wheel going. So do I think you should go out and buy a copy of Mana Crypt right now? No, I don't. I don't own one either, and I'm waiting for a reprint. This is that opportunity. If you're a player who wants this card to come around, this will be your chance, because you can see that previous all-time low was only a couple of months after the set came out. It just dropped because people were cracking them all the time. They were flush on the market. But then they started to disappear, and then they started to rise in value. Pay attention to that stuff. On any of these cards in a reprint set, it is more of an advantage to buy it sooner rather than later. Now, the next card is going to be Cunning Wish. Again, a card that has not come around, okay? We need to have cards like this reprinted again. An all-time high of $29.99 June 2015. The all-time low, $4.82. That's August of 2012. The current price is only $5.97. Guys, cards like this are not going to be really valuable. They're not going to drive the wheel of money, but they are going to be a card that players want to utilize. Players want to get it into their deck and play with and have a good time. And that sometimes is all you need. Good value reprint cards that don't have to have high value, but draw them in with a few marquee major cards that pack a punch that say there's value in the set. I wonder what mana base they'll use. Now, where things could get a little dicey and exciting is if Wizards of the Coast delves further into Portal 3 Kingdoms to give us crazy cards like Sunseed the Young Conqueror. This card has an all-time high of $8,500 for like a BGS 10 copy. It's around $120 actually at the same time frame, so don't get too caught up in the price. And that was back in August of 2020, during the buyout craze. The all-time low for this card is $25.19 back in October of 2013. It's like 10 years ago. And then the current price holding is $98.75 for this card. But it's the idea they can bring back a card that can bounce things, but as well, it has horsemanship. And that's what you're talking about when you get some of these crazy portal cards that could come back around. I mean, it's not crazy idea. When you look at reprintable cards that will have value, that will drive things to the market. Remember when they put Temporal Manipulation, they brought that card back in. It had value. It's been killed off now. It's like a $25 card, but it used to be $100. So bringing cards back from portals that hasn't been printed in forever is not beyond the realm of scope, judging by the other cards we've already seen, right? So this is where it gets crazy. Now, let's take a look at our last card. And here we have Collective Restraint. Now, when you look at this card, it is not, again, a high-value target card that could get reprinted, but it has enough value to draw some players. It has an all-time high of $18 back in September of 2022. The all-time low, $2.10, March 2013. The current price is $10.19. And this is that kind of card that has the value enough to say, hey, this is a fairly decent card. We can afford to let this thing drop down to $5, because even if it loses 50% of its reprint equity in this one printing it gets right now, that's still okay to Wizards of the Coast. They're still drawing in players with the amount of cards they could pack into a set like this, which really tells you why you should not be buying anything right now on the secondary market until we know what the spoilers are for this set. You really have to calm yourself down with the excitement, because I know a lot of us are excited about the upcoming set and the possibilities of the cards they could reprint inside of a set like CM. This is going to be nut stuff. Players are going to be speculating for a very long time. And I know I've missed hundreds and probably thousands of cards that you guys think should probably be on the list I showed you today. I can't wait to see what you guys put in the comments section. It's going to be pretty exciting. But either way, as I start following the market and as I start keying in to see where people think cards are going to be, I will do follow-up videos that follow some of the cards players think are going to get reprinted or other ones that may get reprinted that also contain value. I'm looking forward to sharing those results with you as I track the market and see where these sales are headed. So thanks again for hanging out with me today, and I really can't wait to read all these comments in the comment section about which cards you think are going to get reprinted or which ones you want reprinted into a set like this to draw you in to buy it. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. I'll see you all tomorrow for another video. The moment in time has come where I get to appreciate each and every one of the fantastic patrons on the Moxman's channel. Thanks again to all that Patreon support you guys share with me each and every month. I really appreciate it. Without you, this content is not possible. This is definitely that moment at the end of the video where you're like, sure. Are you sure? Yes, I am totally sure. I've looked into the future and I predicted this set is going to be banger. We all know it's going to be. Of course it is. But with all the reprints they could do, I gotta see the spoiler season before somebody goes in there and starts buying boxes or deciding which cards to sell. I gotta see the spoilers to see what they're packing into this puppy, and they're giving us new cards, so who knows how far they're gonna branch out. They could put in some kind of like jeweled mox still. Remember I predicted that? Jeweled mox could come around. We don't know where things are going, so spoiler season for this set is going to be so incredibly important, guys. But you made it to the end of the video. That's why I'm sharing it all with you now. Anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Let's put jeweled mox in the comment section, and that way I know you made it this far. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Have an awesome day. Jeweled mox.